Welcome to Some Guy's Garage. Today we're going to take a walk through my toolbox. This is the one I use at home and generally has most of my hand tools. It is a 56-inch wide, so this way it's 56-inch, and a 24-inch deep, this way. SPG International toolbox, so it's actually made in Canada, of all places. It's their value series line, so it was fairly inexpensive, but offers quite a bit of storage space for the price. Unfortunately, SPG International is out of business now, so you can't actually buy these anymore, but I've had it for 7-8 years and it's been a really good box actually. So I have a second camera set up that can look down into the box as we go through, but I'll point out some interesting stuff that I have in it, maybe how I organized it, although some of it's just kind of haphazard, and we'll take a look at just what's in it. So let's get started. We'll start up here at the top. I have bits, so screwdriver bits for the impacts, lots of drill bits, cutting saw blades and stuff like that. So sawzall blades, jigsaw blades, spade bits, things like that up here. So generally quick grab stuff. Lots of gloves. These mechanics gloves, if you see my review on it, they tend to get holes in the fingers. So there ends up being a pile up at the top. And then do have some measuring tapes, and across the front, markers, just miscellaneous hardware, that quick place to throw it. Bits and other, stuff bits and countersinks and things like that. So lots of just quick grab stuff. Also the one pry bar that doesn't fit in the drawer down below. It's too long for the width of these drawers, but that's generally what I keep up in the top here. And usually where I throw stuff when it just first kind of comes home and doesn't have a home yet. It's a kind of a catch-all sort of place. Moving down the box now. Top drawer here. So this is mostly chisels, files, putty knives, punches, cutters, all sorts of cutters, I guess. So both scissors and snips and things like that, along with utility knives and those sort of things. Nothing too interesting about this drawer, the tools in it. So we'll just keep moving down. Next up, this one is a fun drawer. This is pliers. And it's a mess. I probably need to weed out some of the pliers here, but have a set of channel locks, set of Nip-X. If you haven't seen any of my reviews on those, go check them out. And then across the back, there's actually some interesting ones. So the Easy Reg Kiwi pliers, those are pretty interesting. But across the back is mostly Mastercraft, some of my older sets, and also snap ring pliers and things like that. I don't tend to use the stuff back here, which is why it should get cleaned out. But sometimes it's handy to have a pair of pliers that you don't really care about versus, say, the Nip-X or the channel lock, which are kind of the better pliers. Continuing on down, next drawer. This is all standard, imperial, whatever you want to call it, wrenches. So ratcheting, both fixed and flex head. So a couple different options there. These are a secondary set, the offset wrenches, flare nut wrenches, things like that are in this kind of center section. Left is just my standard wrenches, nothing special about them. Most of these are actually Mastercraft of all things, but Mastercraft, I think these came from Gear Wrench originally, so they're decent enough quality. Also have the stubbies here in ratcheting and non-ratcheting. And the Imperial drawer stores my adjustable wrenches. There's also, actually this is kind of cool, these are the Grip brand super thin wrenches. So if you ever do need a really cheap set of thin wrenches, these work fairly well actually. So those hang out in here. And I also keep hex keys and stuff like that. Moving down again, as you can imagine, it's the metric version of that. So ratcheting, the offsets, flare nuts, those sort of things, regular ones. Hex keys, the thin wrenches again, and stubbies as well. So very similar in this drawer. Over to the right hand side here, these are all my channel lock, or sorry, not channel locks, but vice grips. So the wonderful C-clamp ones use a lot of the time welding, and then just a general selection of all the vice grips. Cool little video if you want to see them all, click there in the top right corner. And also just some plastic scrapers. They didn't have a better spot to go, but those are in that drawer as well. And then below that, this is really a mess, so it's kind of again a catch-all, but things like laser measurers, extra pair of gloves because I can't have enough of those, stud finders, different test instruments, brake fluid, staples, scales, my not so fancy multimeters, things like that. So all sorts of kind of instruments and measuring things and stuff like that are in this drawer. Okay, and then moving down to the main part of the box, the big wide drawer here in the middle is my main socket sets. So kind of right to left here have extensions, so half, 3/8, quarter drive extensions with the longer stuff here, and the even longer stuff in this kind of pile at the back. All of my ratchets, well, most of my ratchets anyway, the primary ones I use are the gear wrench ones here. These are quite nice. These are the 84 tooth, and I've had them for almost as long as the toolbox, and they've been fantastic, no issues with them. Across the back, so some of the larger, breaker bars, there's a 3/4, there's a couple 3/4 drive stuff in here, larger ratchets, speeders. And then moving to the left, some other ratchets that I don't really use, 12-point sockets here and some spline sockets as well. Oil filter stuff, a random 23 mil socket, drain plug on something that I had to get, half drive deeps, these are mid-depth gear wrench ones, handy if you ever need them, and then a couple trays full of just general sockets, quarter, 3/8, and half drive, both 12-point, 6-point, deep, and shallow, so just a variety of sockets. These were actually fairly cheap. They're Power Fist, so Princess Auto brand, very similar to Harbor Freight if you're in the US, but these have actually held up really well. I've yet to break one, and I've had them for quite a number of years now as well. Sometimes you get lucky, maybe I don't abuse my tools enough, but those have also been really great and gave me a wide selection for a very low price. Alright, moving further down, this drawer is filled with all my screwdrivers, mostly gear wrench and Mastercraft, across all of them. There's square drive, Phillips, and flathead, with I'm sure a few others mixed in down here, some Torx and things like that. Is probably a few too many. I could probably again weed out some of the older Mastercraft stuff, but as it stands, gives me a good selection of all sorts of different kinds of screwdrivers. Not any of my smaller ones other than a few stubbies over here. Those are in a different drawer. But some really cool long, super long ones here, and the gear wrench screwdrivers have been fairly decent. The heads are good, they have held up well. This is probably my most used, the number 2 Phillips here, and it's still in great shape, so not too bad. I do have Wera screwdrivers in my service bag that I'll do another walkthrough on later. This in general has been pretty good. Continuing down, next drawer is mostly impact sockets. So in here, I've got a set of 3/8, set of 1/2 inch. There's some Torx and Hex, lug nut protected sockets, some more half drive, damage removers, some of the triple square, and stubbies and things like that. Some universals in 3/8 drive, and just another set of deeps in 3/8 drive as well. Plus a couple oddball sockets that I've had to buy. But that's the bulk of my impact sockets. The extensions and stuff are in this upper drawer here that you saw earlier. Moving down, in this drawer we have all my torque wrenches, so half drives, a couple of half drives of different lengths, a couple of 3/8 drives, one's more foot pounds, one's more inch pounds, and a quarter drive, and then the rest of these are mostly bit sockets, so non-impact, like hex bit sockets and stuff like that, hex Torx screws, more triple square and things like that, E-Torx. So just a variety of bit sockets in this drawer, along with the, of course, torque wrenches. Next down, further from that, so this is all of my air tools. The reason they're lower, even though I do use them quite often, the reason they're lower in the box is simply because of weight. So when I tried to set this up, I wanted the box to not be top heavy as best I could, so kind of the lighter stuff up high, and as it goes lower, the bigger and the heavier stuff. It's made it so the box is stable. This box doesn't have any drawer interlocks, so you can pull out multiple drawers at a time. And the extra weight down low just makes it a lot more stable. I haven't had any worries about tipping with a couple drawers open. But down here we have my big Ingersoll Rand impact wrenches, some double cut burrs that go with the die grinders and stuff, air ratchets, drills, hammers, air saws, cut off tools, another drill, another impact, needle scaler, bits and accessories and discs and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, generally all of my air tools and accessories are in this drawer. And then lastly, down at the bottom here is the drawer full of hammers and pry bars. So pretty much the most heavy stuff, dead blows, ball peen hammers, drilling hammers and mallets and things like that, along with a good selection of pry bars, both the OTC brand striking pry bars and some cheaper ones, some of the indexing ones. So good variety, and then punches and other things like that down here. Even an extension that I use as a punch. But yeah, that's the bottom drawer here. And then moving back up to the right. So up on the right here is my other pliers. So the really large channel locks, the gear wrench double X, which are pretty cool pliers if you need long reach. And just generally other pliers here. So just overflow really from that top drawer that if I did condense the top one, this one would be able to potentially free up for some other stuff. Below that is hooks and picks. So I have all of my different kinds of hooks, picks, scrapers, those sort of things. And then all the kind of smaller precision screwdrivers, some more stubbies, another little set of precision screwdrivers. But yeah, just generally hooks and screwdrivers and seal pullers as well actually are in this drawer. Next below that is what I call my kind of problem solving drawer. So this is a overflow of some miscellaneous, weird, different tools. I'm going to take a really quick walk through and just name off some of them. You probably haven't seen a few of these before, but got nut splitters, an O2 sensor chaser here, brake spring pliers, another O2 wrench, hose pinch off, that's a CV boot puller, some different extractors, seal pullers. There's a right angle grease fitting, some clip and connector removers, damaged bolt removers, left hand drill bits, more screw removers, pin pliers or different kind of pliers to pull things, caliper hangers, mirror. These are for holding the wheels on the Porsche here when you're changing wheels. Those are the different sizes of that. Another pin pliers, a tapered reamer. There's caps, so like vacuum line caps. Couple extra special taps, feeler gauge, exhaust hanger pliers, tread depth checker, Lily tap sockets. These are really handy if you do a lot of tapping. Another trim puller, spark plug, or not spark plug, sorry, the battery terminal cleaner, automatic center punch, and a magnet. So lots of cool little things that when you run into trouble or you need to get something apart or just generally have issues, it's a cool drawer to go and grab a few things out of. Or you could call it a junk drawer, whatever you want. And then last but not least at the bottom here is kind of another overflow drawer, similar to this one here with a lot of miscellaneous stuff, but keep a couple respirators, one for painting, one for dust. Some new products I haven't used, like extra trays. Down in the bottom is some of like caliper spreader, steamer for duct work and things like that, some pullers and things like that as well. Trim things, grinding wheel for a grinder. And there's also way down in the bottom here a whole nother set of impact sockets. So these are the Tecton ones that are 12 point. I don't use 12 point impact so often, so that's why they're kind of buried down there. But every once in a while I've needed those, say for, I don't know, an axle socket or something like that. And so that set's all down in there as well. So you'll notice that it's missing some other tools, power tools, and things you might expect to be in a toolbox normally. And that's generally because it's all kind of stored in here. So there is a whole nother set of cases full of different specialty tools, test tools, like taps and die sets, and other different power tools are in there. Again, more stored here as well. And then even up here in the cupboard is actually where most of my cordless tools are. So all the drills and impact wrenches and things like that are stored up in here. So a lot of that doesn't end up in the toolbox. And actually there's one other thing too, is I do have a pegboard here filled with a few more things. So you'll see some saws and pry bars and clamps and other stuff like that that are stored out here in the open. Downside to this is it does get dusty. So pegboard isn't ideal, but this particular corner, just the way it's laid out, I didn't really have room for shelving or anything else with the sink here and such. So that's why it ended up on the pegboard. That's why there's pegboard here, and you know, you got to put something on it. So the toolbox itself is fairly full, and that's how I kind of, you know, split things up between the two. But if you're seeing a bunch of, or if you're wondering where a bunch of the things that would normally be in a toolbox are, that's because they are scattered throughout here anyway. So that was a tour of my toolbox here at home. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any suggestions on how I could better organize or make more efficient use of space, I'd be really interested in hearing that, so let me know in the comments below. Anyway, if you aren't already subscribed, please consider it. I am going to do a walkthrough of my service bag here in the near future, so stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for watching.